Imagine a place where the horizon is shaped by towering fjords, where crystal-clear waters reflect snow-covered mountains, and where the night sky is illuminated by the magical northern lights. Welcome to Norway, a country that seems straight out of a fairy tale. Did you know that Norway is home to some of the most spectacular landscapes in the world, with nature so vast that it changes at every turn of the road? Have you ever imagined exploring breathtaking mountains, picturesque towns, and even witnessing the midnight sun? Get ready to discover all this and more in this fascinating land, where the adventure never ends. In Norway, nature takes center stage. The rugged mountains invite adventurers to epic hikes, like the famous Preikestolen, the Pulpit Rock, from where the view over the Lysefjord is simply breathtaking. But that's not all. Want an even more thrilling adventure? How about kayaking through the fjords, where you can feel tiny in the face of the grandeur of these natural wonders? Now, if you're the type who prefers the charm of cities, don't worry. Oslo, the vibrant Norwegian capital, blends modern architecture with rich Viking heritage. Meanwhile, Bergen, with its colorful wooden houses, is the gateway to the fjords and looks like it was painted for postcards. And we can't forget two magical experiences that only Norway can offer. In the winter, the northern lights danced across the sky, creating a unique and mesmerizing light show, a true gift from nature. In the summer, Norway is known for the midnight sun, where the sun simply doesn't set, allowing endless days of adventure. With a perfect blend of outdoor adventures, rich culture, and breathtaking landscapes, Norway is a destination that touches the soul. Whether you're a nature lover, a history enthusiast, or just someone looking for new experiences, Norway has something to offer everyone. So what are you waiting for? Let yourself be swept away by the magic of Norway and come discover one of the most enchanting countries in the world. The trip of a lifetime starts here. Norway, despite its small size in terms of population, has developed a very strong national identity, particularly since gaining independence in the early 20th century. After centuries of Danish rule and later a tense union with Sweden, Norway began to build its own cultural narrative. The recovery of Norwegian identity was, in many ways, as much a cultural process as it was a political one. During the 19th century, a period known as the National Awakening began to gain momentum, especially in the arts and literature. This movement sought to highlight Norwegian traditions, rural landscapes, and everyday life, elements that were often seen as part of the country's folklore and authentic way of life. Painters such as Hans Gude and Adolf Tidemann captured the dramatic beauty of Norway's landscapes and rural lifestyle, influencing how Norway came to be viewed both internally and externally. This period also marked the rise of writers like Henrik Ibsen, one of the world's most important playwrights, whose plays such as A Doll's House and Hedda Gabler addressed deep psychological and social issues. Ibsen brought to light the social tensions of the time, and his works continue to be globally recognized, forming a central part of Norwegian culture. Another important figure in Norwegian literature is Knut Hamsun, who won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1920 with his innovative work helping to establish the psychological novel as a literary genre. These artists, writers, and intellectuals played a crucial role in forming a distinct cultural identity for Norway, celebrating both the simple life of farmers and the existential challenges of modern society. Art has always played a central role in preserving and promoting Norwegian identity. During the Romantic era, which took place in Europe in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, Norwegian artists began to portray the country's wild and untamed landscapes with great enthusiasm. Norway, with its majestic mountains, stunning fjords, and deep valleys, became a symbol of natural beauty and purity. The artist Theodor Kittelsen is a classic example of this period. He was responsible for creating iconic images of Norwegian folklore legends, many of them related to trolls and mystical creatures inhabiting the dense forests and mountains. His works are often associated with the mythology and spirit of rural Norway, and you can feel the mystery and enchantment of these landscapes when observing his art. In addition to painting, music also had a significant impact on the formation of Norwegian cultural identity. Edvard Grieg, the country's most celebrated composer, captured the spirit of Norway's mountains and fjords in his compositions. His Peer Gynt Suite, based on Henrik Ibsen's play, is a masterpiece of classical music and continues to resonate in the hearts of Norwegians to this day. By listening to his compositions, one can feel immersed in Norway's grand landscapes and vibrant culture. Today, you can explore this rich cultural tradition by visiting museums dedicated to these artists, such as the National Museum in Oslo, which houses some of the largest collections of Norwegian art. Walking through the galleries, it is impossible not to be touched by the way art and nature intertwine with the soul of the country. Another crucial moment in Norway's history was the Nazi occupation during World War II. Despite having declared neutrality, Norway was invaded by German forces in 1940. This period of occupation, which lasted until 1945, was a trial by fire for the Norwegian people. During these dark years, Norway developed a tradition of resistance, not only militarily but also culturally. King Haakon VII, who refused to capitulate to the Nazis, became a symbol of resistance and courage. He fled to Great Britain, from where he coordinated resistance efforts and continued to inspire the Norwegian people to fight for freedom. In many Norwegian towns and villages, resistance took the form of small acts of civil disobedience, sabotage, and efforts to protect Jews and other persecuted groups. Norway also played an important role in the European military theater, mainly due to its strategic location and extensive coastline. Many Norwegians fled to the United Kingdom and other neutral countries, where they enlisted in the Allied forces to fight against Nazism. After the war, the country went through a period of reconstruction and recovery, and the memory of the Nazi occupation remains alive in many places, such as the Norwegian Resistance Museum at Akershus Fortress in Oslo. There, it is possible to understand how the courage and solidarity of the Norwegian people were fundamental to the country's survival during those difficult years. Moving into the contemporary scene, Norway is now one of the most respected nations on the global stage, not only for its domestic achievements but also for its commitment to peace, human rights. However, Norway's commitment to sustainable development is one of the country's greatest cultural legacies. Even as one of the world's largest oil exporters, Norway has stood out for its strict environmental policies and its leadership in combating climate change. In Oslo, for example, there is a strong effort to transform the city into an example of urban sustainability, with the use of electric vehicles being encouraged and green technologies implemented throughout urban infrastructure. If you want to experience Norwegian culture in a more festive way, then the country's holidays and celebrations are the perfect opportunity. Besides Constitution Day, which we've already mentioned, St. John's Eve, also known as Sankthansaften, is a traditional festival that celebrates the summer solstice. During this magical night, bonfires are lit along beaches and fjords, celebrating the summer light and marking the peak of the season. Another interesting celebration is July, Norwegian Christmas, which blends pagan traditions with Christianity. Norwegian July is full of unique rituals, such as the consumption of traditional dishes, decorating Christmas trees with ornaments reminiscent of Nordic folklore, and, of course, awaiting julenissen, the Norwegian Santa Claus. Celebrating Christmas in Norway is to experience a festival full of symbolism, lights, and spirituality. Traveling through Norway is like opening a storybook where each page reveals something new and surprising. But, as with any destination, it's always helpful to have a few tips up your sleeve to ensure your experience is the best it can be. Additionally, we'll explore together some of the country's most secretive and lesser-known corners, which often lie off the beaten tourist paths. Best time to visit. Choose the right season. One of the first questions many travelers ask when planning a trip to Norway is, when is the best time to visit? The answer depends heavily on the experience you're seeking. Norway is a country that changes dramatically from one season to another, and each has its own special charm. If you're dreaming of seeing the northern lights, then winter from September to March is your best bet. However, keep in mind that winter in northern Norway means very short days, with few hours of natural light. During this time, temperatures can be quite harsh, especially in Arctic regions, but the reward of witnessing the lights dancing in the sky makes it all worth it. On the other hand, if you're looking to explore the fjords, hike in the mountains, or experience the famous midnight sun, summer from June to August is the perfect season. The days are long, with the sun shining almost 24 hours a day in the far north, and temperatures are more pleasant, ideal for outdoor activities. But if you prefer a quieter Norway, away from the tourist crowds, consider visiting in the spring or fall. During these times, you'll see stunning landscapes with blooming flowers in spring or forests painted in shades of orange and red in autumn. Not to mention that prices tend to be lower and attractions are less crowded. Internal transportation. Enjoy the scenery along the way. Traveling through Norway is an experience in itself, and the journey can be part of the adventure. The country offers an excellent public transportation network, and train journeys, in particular, are considered some of the most beautiful in the world. The Bergen Railway, Bergensbanen, which connects Oslo to Bergen, is one of the most scenic railway routes you can take. During the approximately 7-hour journey, you'll cross snow-covered mountains, deep valleys, and crystal-clear rivers and lakes. It's like a live geography lesson and a perfect opportunity to savor nature without rushing. Another unmissable mode of transportation in Norway is by boat. Fjord cruises are popular, but if you prefer a more authentic experience, you can take ferries that are part of the local transport system. A classic example is the famous Hurtigruten, a coastal route that connects towns and villages from Bergen in the south to Kirkenes in the far north. It's an excellent way to explore the coast and see remote locations, all while relaxing and enjoying breathtaking scenery. For those who prefer the freedom of driving, renting a car is another great option. Norwegian roads, though winding in some mountainous sections, are well maintained and offer spectacular views. The Atlantic Road, Atlanterhavsveien, for example, is one of the most scenic routes in the country, linking small islands and coastal inlets through bridges that seem to float over the sea. Lesser-known places, Norway's hidden gems. Now, let's talk about Norway's best-kept secrets. Those places that, for some reason, remain out of the spotlight but offer an authentic and memorable experience. If you want to escape the crowds and explore a lesser-visited Norway, these are the places to add to your itinerary. Vega Islands. In northern Norway, there's an archipelago called Vega, which is as remote as it is enchanting. Comprising over 6,500 islands, this place has been declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and for good reason. Here, life moves at a much slower pace, and the main activity is traditional fishing. The landscape is almost untouched, with deserted beaches, low mountains, and an endless sky. The main island, Vega, is perfect for easy hikes, boat trips, and bird watching. One of the most interesting aspects of this region is the local culture of harvesting eiderdown, an ancient practice that involves protecting and caring for these birds so they can nest on the islands. It's a unique experience, a glimpse of how humans can live in harmony with nature, respecting the cycles of wildlife. Røros, the historic mining town. Another lesser-known destination, but of incredible historical and cultural value, is the town of Røros in central Norway. Founded in the 17th century as a mining town, Røros today feels like a piece frozen in time, with its narrow streets and preserved wooden houses. Exploring Røros is like walking through a movie set. In winter, snow covers the town, creating a magical atmosphere worthy of a postcard. Christmas in Røros is especially charming. with winter markets and craft fairs that harken back to old times. And of course, the region's copper mines offer guided tours where you can learn more about the importance of mining in Norway's history. For a truly authentic experience, avoid the larger towns on the island, such as Svolvær, and head to smaller villages like Rain or A. In these places, life is simple. Fishermen continue their daily routines, and you can hike trails that lead to spectacular viewpoints where the vistas seem to belong to another world. In addition, cod fishing is the region's main economic activity, and you can join fishing expeditions to experience this local tradition. Local culture. Connect with Norwegians. Traveling is also an opportunity to connect with people. And Norwegians, though reserved at first, are incredibly welcoming once you get to know their culture. One of the most authentic ways to experience the Norwegian way of life is by staying in a hytte, the famous Norwegian wooden cabins, often located in remote areas, surrounded by nature. These cabins are a symbol of the friluftsliv culture, which is the Norwegian love for spending time outdoors. Staying in a hytte, far from everything, without electricity or internet, is a perfect way to disconnect from the modern world and reconnect with the essentials. Nature, silence, and the simple act of being present in the moment. Norwegians also love their festivals and traditions. If you're lucky enough to be in the country on May 17th, Norway's Constitution Day, get ready for a celebration full of national pride. Colorful parades cross the streets of every city, and you'll see Norwegians dressed in their traditional outfits, the bunad, in a display of joy and belonging that is contagious. Practical tips: plan carefully. To ensure your trip to Norway is perfect, here are some practical tips. First, the weather can be unpredictable, especially in mountainous areas and the north. Always bring extra layers of clothing, even in summer, and be prepared for sudden weather changes. Another important point is the cost. Norway is known for being an expensive destination, especially when it comes to food and accommodation. However, there are ways to save. For example, you can opt to cook your own meals, as many supermarkets offer a great variety of local products. Additionally, if you're an outdoor adventure lover, camping is a great option, and Norway has a very generous right of access policy, allowing you to camp in public areas for free as long as you respect nature. When we think of Norway, we often imagine majestic fjords, snow-covered mountains, and nights with the northern lights painting the sky. But what often goes unnoticed is the role that gastronomy plays in Norwegian culture. The country's cuisine is a direct reflection of its harsh climate and the natural resources available to the nation, and Norwegians have managed to turn these limitations into a rich culinary tradition where the simplicity of ingredients meets deep and authentic flavors. If you're planning a trip to Norway, it's essential to take some time to immerse yourself in the gastronomic experience. From typical seafood dishes to traditional meats and the famous Norwegian cheeses, the country's cuisine is a window into its culture, history, and way of life. In Norway, food is not just sustenance. but also a connection to the land and the centuries-old traditions of preserving and valuing natural resources. Seafood, Norway's treasure. As a country surrounded by the sea, it's no surprise that seafood plays a central role in the Norwegian diet. The cold waters of the North Atlantic provide some of the freshest and most flavorful fish in the world, with special emphasis on salmon, cod, locally known as torsk, and herring. Norwegian salmon is famous worldwide, both for its quality and versatility. Norway was one of the first countries to develop sustainable salmon farming techniques, and today it is exported globally. However, for visitors, the most authentic experience is tasting smoked salmon, a dish that can be found in any traditional Norwegian breakfast, served with fresh bread, eggs, and a selection of local cheeses. Another must-try dish is lutefisk, a traditional dish made from dried cod that undergoes a special curing process with lye before being boiled. The flavor is strong and doesn't appeal to all palates, but it is a unique culinary experience that dates back centuries. During the winter, especially around Christmas, lutefisk is widely served in restaurants throughout Norway. Another fish you'll frequently encounter is klippfisk, which is also a type of dried and salted cod. Klippfisk has deep historical roots, from a time when Norwegian fishermen needed effective methods to preserve fish throughout the harsh winter. Today, it is used in a variety of dishes, including stews and gratins. We cannot forget herring, an essential fish in the Norwegian diet, especially in its marinated form, known as sild. Norwegians consume marinated herring in various ways, one of the most popular being pickled herring, prepared with vinegar, sugar, onions, and spices. This dish is traditionally served at important celebrations like Christmas and Easter, but it is also part of everyday breakfasts and light lunches, accompanied by dark whole grain bread and butter. For those visiting Norway, one of the best ways to experience these seafood dishes is to visit a fish market, such as the famous Fisketorget in Bergen. There, you can see fishermen bringing in fresh fish directly from the sea and taste dishes prepared on the spot, like shrimp sandwiches and fresh oysters. Meats and game, the Nordic heritage. While seafood is essential in Norwegian cuisine, meats also play an important role at the table, especially in mountainous and rural regions. Norway has a long tradition of hunting and livestock farming that dates back to Viking times, and many typical dishes reflect this heritage. One of the most typical and unique dishes is fenalur, which consists of a salted and dried leg of lamb, often served in thin slices, usually as part of a charcuterie board, along with cheeses and homemade bread. The curing of fenalur can take months, resulting in a deep and slightly salty flavor that is a true reflection of traditional meat preservation methods. Another highly appreciated dish, especially in winter, is kjøttkaker, small meatballs served with gravy, potatoes, and mashed peas. Though simple, it is a dish that evokes the comfort and hospitality of Norwegian home cooking. In the Arctic region of Norway, known as Sapmi, you can experience a traditional Sami delicacy, reindeer meat. Reindeer meat is rich and tender, with a slightly sweet flavor. The Sami, an indigenous people who inhabit the region, still practice reindeer herding, and their culinary traditions are an important part of local culture. The most famous dish made with reindeer meat is bidos, a warm and comforting stew made with pieces of reindeer, carrots, and potatoes. Norway also has a rich tradition of dairy production, with a special focus on cheeses. The most famous Norwegian cheese is, without a doubt, brunost or brown cheese. Made from cow's or goat's milk whey, brunost has a soft texture and a slightly sweet flavor, due to the caramelization of the whey. This cheese is widely consumed at breakfast, usually thinly sliced and served over a slice of bread with butter. Another variety worth mentioning is gammelost, a traditional cheese with a crumbly texture and strong flavor that was very popular during the Middle Ages and is still appreciated, especially in the western region of the country. Gammelost is made using a natural fermentation process, which gives it its distinctive and intense taste. Goat cheeses are also an essential part of the Norwegian diet, with many family farms still producing artisanal versions that are widely enjoyed. In remote villages, like those in the Telemark Mountains, you can visit farms where fresh milk is turned into delicious artisanal cheeses, following methods passed down through generations. Breads and pastries. Norwegian comfort. No meal in Norway would be complete without a good portion of bread. Dark whole grain bread is the most common, made with a mixture of grains and seeds that make it dense and nutritious. It is often served with butter, cheeses, and cured meats. Bread plays a fundamental role in the Norwegian diet, being consumed at every meal throughout the day. In local bakeries, you'll find a wide variety of breads and cakes, but one sweet that stands out is kanelboller, or cinnamon bread. This sweet bread, rolled with cinnamon and sugar, is a delight that goes perfectly with a good coffee, another essential element in Norwegian culture. In fact, Norway is one of the countries with the highest coffee consumption per capita in the world, and cafes are places for meeting and socializing. Another typical sweet is crumb cake, a thin and crispy cone-shaped cookie, often filled with cream. Traditionally, crumb cake is made during Christmas, but it can be found year-round in bakeries and pastry shops. The peculiar flavor of brunost, the brown cheese. Have you ever heard of a cheese that's not salty, but rather sweet? Norway has a true culinary gem called brunost, or brown cheese. Brunost isn't exactly an ordinary cheese. It's made from whey, which is boiled down until it caramelizes, giving it a brown color and a sweet flavor, almost like a mix between cheese and caramel. This cheese is beloved by Norwegians and is often served in thin slices on bread, accompanied by a good cup of coffee. Many tourists find the sweet taste strange at first, but brunost is a cultural icon and an important part of the Norwegian diet, especially for breakfast. There are even competitions among different producers to see who makes the most authentic and delicious brunost. And speaking of coffee, Norwegians are obsessed with coffee. Did you know that Norway ranks among the highest coffee consumers per capita in the world? That's right, Norwegians love a good cup of coffee, and it's common for them to gather for long conversations over several cups of this beverage. The concept of kafikos, which can be translated as the pleasure of enjoying coffee in good company, is part of everyday life in Norway. Cafes and bakeries across the country serve high-quality filtered coffee, often accompanied by sweets like the famous kanelboller, cinnamon buns, or vafler, Norwegian waffles. Coffee breaks aren't just a time to recharge. They are an important social tradition where people slow down and enjoy each other's company. The largest waterfall in Europe, Voringsfossen. Norway is a country filled with breathtaking waterfalls, and one of the most famous and impressive is Voringsfossen, located in Hordaland County, in the Eidfjord region. With a drop of about 180 meters, this is one of the tallest waterfalls in Europe, and its dramatic beauty attracts thousands of visitors every year. The sound of the water roaring as it plunges down the steep cliffs is something you need to experience to fully appreciate. It's a place where the force of nature is intensely felt. The waterfall is easily accessible, and there are strategically positioned viewing platforms where you can stand for a few moments, simply taking in the power and beauty surrounding you. Viking tradition, the presence of the ancient conquerors. Though the Viking era ended more than 1,000 years ago, the Viking legacy is still very present in Norwegian culture and identity. The Vikings were skilled navigators, feared warriors, and tireless explorers, and many of the traditions and stories from that time are kept alive today. In Norway, you can visit several Viking museums where original ships are on display, such as the famous Viking Ship Museum in Oslo, which houses perfectly preserved Viking ships that are over 1,000 years old. Additionally, during the summer, many Norwegian towns, especially in the Lofoten region, host Viking festivals where visitors can watch reenactments of battles, try period cuisine, and even learn Viking crafting techniques. And if you've ever wanted to feel a bit of the Viking spirit, you can take part in activities like rowing in a replica Viking boat or learning more about their beliefs and mythology, which still have a strong influence on modern Norwegian culture. Norway's highest mountain, Galdhøpiggen. For the adventure seekers out there, Norway offers the opportunity to climb the country's highest mountain, Galdhøpiggen, which rises to 2,469 meters. Located in the Jotunheimen National Park, this mountain is the perfect destination for hiking enthusiasts and lovers of spectacular views. Despite its height, the climb to the top is accessible even to inexperienced hikers, especially during the summer when the weather is milder. The feeling of reaching the summit, with clouds below you and snow-covered peaks all around, is something that makes any effort worthwhile. Additionally, the Jotunheimen area offers a vast network of trails that can take you through alpine lakes,